an English folktale. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack. He lived with his mother in a small house in a small village. Jack and his mother were very poor. What little money they had, the old woman earned by spinning wool into thread. But Jack did nothing, for he was very lazy. In summer, he sat all day under the shade of a huge tree. In winter, he sat all day by the fire. His mother could not get him to do anything to help her. Finally, she'd had enough. "You lazy boy," she shouted. "If you do not go work for your porridge, I will turn you out of this house." Frightened by his mother's threats, Jack thought he'd best go to work if he wanted to eat. The very next day, Jack went out and hired himself to a neighboring farmer for 1 penny. After he earned his penny, he was very pleased because he had never had any money before. As he walked home, he tossed the coin up in the air and caught it, and tossed it and caught it. But as he crossed the bridge, Jack dropped his penny and watched in dismay as it rolled off the bridge into the water below. Plop! It went. When his mother heard what happened, she was very angry. She said, "You stupid boy! You should have put the penny in your pocket." "I'll do so the next time," replied Jack. So the next day, Jack went out again and hired himself to a cowherd. This man paid Jack with a jar of milk. Remembering what his mother had said, Jack put the jar of milk into a large pocket of his jacket and started home. Now, before he was even home, the milk had spilled out, drip by drip by drip. "You foolish boy," his mother shouted. "You should have carried the jar of milk on your head." "I'll do so the next time," replied Jack. So the next day, Jack went out again and hired himself to a farmer. Now, this farmer was going to give Jack cream cheese for his day's work. In the evening, Jack grabbed the cream cheese and started home. Remembering what his mother had said, he placed the cream cheese on his head and continued to walk. Before long, though, the cream cheese had melted and ran into his hair. "You stupid boy," his mother shouted. "You should have carried the cream cheese carefully in your hands." "I'll do so the next time," replied Jack. Now, the next day, Jack went out again and hired himself to a baker. This baker was going to give Jack a large tomcat for his day's work. Remembering what his mother had said, Jack picked the cat up and carried it in his arms very carefully. The cat, however, hissed and scratched, and before long, Jack had to let the cat go. When he got home, his mother was very upset. She said, "You stupid boy, you should have tied a string to the cat and dragged it behind you." "I'll do so the next time," replied Jack. Now, the next day, Jack went out again and hired himself to a butcher. This butcher gave Jack a leg of lamb for his day's work. Remembering what his mother had said, he tied a string to the leg of lamb and dragged it behind him. He went over bumps and dips and dragged it through the dirt, and by the time he was home, the meat was spoiled and rotten. Finally, the mother had lost patience with him. The next day was Sunday, and they would have nothing but boiled cabbage for dinner. She said to him, "You stupid boy, you should have carried the leg of lamb on your shoulders." "I'll do so the next time," replied Jack. Well, on Monday, lazy Jack went out one more time to look for work. This time he hired himself to a cattle keeper. The cattle keeper gave Jack a donkey for his day's work. Jack, remembering what his mother had said, hoisted the donkey up on his shoulders and started home. Although he was very strong, it was hard to do. When it happened that as Jack had to pass the house of a very rich man. This rich man had only one daughter who could not speak or hear and never laughed in her lifetime. Doctors told the father that until somebody made her laugh, she would never speak or hear. Many people had tried, but without success. Now, the father, losing all despair, offered her in marriage to the first man who could make her laugh. This young lady happened to be looking out the window as Jack passed, struggling along with the donkey on his back. And the donkey was hee-hawing, its legs in the air were kicking violently. At the sight of this, the girl burst into laughter and instantly retained her speech and her hearing. The father was overjoyed that he kept his promise and gave her Jack in marriage. He made Jack a very rich man, and after they were married, they lived in a large house, and Jack's mother lived with them happily ever after.